This happened to me over 20 years ago, and it still terrifies me every time I think about it. It was my last year of secondary school. Me and my best friend Anthony would always hang out at school and after school. We didn't live too far apart. Most of the time I would get the bus back to his house, and we would play on the PlayStation. Anthony had the new GTA game, so we would always play this until my mum or dad would come and get me. A new kid started at school. His name was Josh. We found out he got kicked out of his previous school for selling cigarettes. We all became really good friends, and we still are to this day. Josh invited us to stay over his house on the weekend, while his parents were away for the night. So me and Anthony got on the bus and over to his house on a Saturday afternoon. His parents were still home when we arrived at Josh's house, and they were really welcoming. I think they were happy to see Josh making new friends. I remember his dad saying you're welcome to stay over, and here's 20 quid for a takeaway. But while we're gone, please whatever you do not go into my office. When they left, we had a few beers, played some Call of Duty, and watched a couple movies. Josh snuck off and said he'll be back. I'm just going to grab something out of my dad's office. He came back a couple minutes later with a board game. Have you ever seen one of these? He asked. Me and Anthony didn't have a clue what it was, but I remember it looked similar to the Jumanji board from the movie. Josh said it's a Ouija board. It lets you talk to ghosts. We all thought this could be fun, so we turned down the lights, lit a few candles, and Josh opened the board up. Everything that happened after this moment was truly terrifying, and I regret playing the game. I asked Josh if he had done one of these before. He said he hasn't, but his mum and dad use it most weekends. Josh grabbed the planchette and placed it on the board, and asked us both to put our index fingers on the planchette. Josh said, if there are any spirits trying to make contact, let it be known. The room was deathly quiet, and nothing happened. Josh asked, are there any spirits in this room? And the planchette moved to yes. I remember looking back, naively. I wasn't scared at this stage. I honestly thought Josh and Anthony moved the planchette, but before Josh asked the next question, my phone went off. I had a phone call from an unknown number. I answered it, and all I could hear was heavy breathing. I thought it was Anthony or Josh messing around, but they showed me their phones. The breathing continued until I hung up. This creeped the hell out of me. Who was trying to call me? I then asked the board, was it you that tried to call me? And the planchette moved to yes. One of the candles then blew out by itself. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was like something from the horror films, but this was real life. Anthony then wanted to stop the game, and so did I, but Josh wanted to continue. We both said we will do one more question, but then that's it, we're done. Josh then asked the Ouija board, did you die here? The planchette flew from under my fingertips into the corner of the room. The lights came on by themselves. We all screamed at the top of our lungs. We had no idea what was happening and no way of explaining it. We all then heard a bang at the window. My heart was in my stomach, and I was so scared at this moment. Josh ran to the window, threw open the blinds, and noticed all the outside lights were on. We all ran into the kitchen. Josh's kitchen was the other side of the house. It was a large kitchen diner that had double doors leading to the garden. Anthony quickly locked the door, while Josh noticed that every light in the house was also on. We made sure all the windows and doors were locked, and looked over the whole house to make sure nobody was there. As the night died down, we all decided to go to sleep. Me and Anthony shared a room just down the hallway from Josh's room. We couldn't help but talk about what had happened with the Ouija board and how terrifying it was. Slowly, the conversation stopped, and I must have fallen asleep. What happened next still haunts me to this day. I suddenly woke to pitch darkness of the night and realised I was no longer in bed, but instead, I was downstairs, sat upright on the sofa. I could see, stood by the door, was a dark shadow of a man facing towards me. My heart was racing, I had a cold sweat, and I was frozen to the sofa, unable to move. What felt like minutes, that shadow didn't move. It just waited by the door. I thought my heart was going to burst through my chest. I was hoping I was just having a nightmare, but I could tell that this was real. I somehow got the courage to scream, as loud as I could. I could hear Josh and Anthony both running down the stairs, and the shadow still didn't move. They both burst through the door, and the second they turned the lights on, the shadow of the man disappeared. I remember both Anthony and Josh looking at me with pure fear and confusion. I told them what had happened, although I had a hard time explaining myself. I have never sleptwalked before, and haven't since. I hope you've enjoyed today's horror story, and if you did, please consider subscribing to Mr. Fear, as we upload every Friday at 6 PM. And if you enjoyed this video, please click on the next one.